that you understand, 'cause you are the one for me. You just believe, 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 believe. Listen to your heart, 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 heart. Listen to your heart, 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 heart. Listen to your heart. Tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart. Tell me that you understand, 'cause you are the one for me. You just believe. You just believe. You just believe. You just believe. Listen to your heart. 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 Tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart. Tell me that you understand, 'cause you are the one for me. You just believe. 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 Believe, 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 believe. Listen to your heart, 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 heart. Listen to your heart, 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 heart. Listen to your heart. Tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart. Tell me that you understand, 'cause you are the one for me. You just believe. You just believe. You just believe. You just believe. Listen to your heart. Tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart. Tell me that you understand, 'cause you are the one for me. You just believe. You just believe.
Good evening. Let me myself real quick. Yeah, man, it's just me. If you are unaware, maybe check Twitter. I don't know. Hugh is at the game, so he cannot join me. He has texted me though. We have texted each other, and I think there is plans for him to do a video tomorrow once he finally gets home, and collects his thoughts, because he witnessed that in person and traveled all that way to watch that. So he may see it differently than I did watching it on TV. But as always, subscribe, keep your notifications on if there is a video, if he finds time to do that. That will be out at some point tomorrow. But for now, you've got me. I'm going to try my best to be the therapist of the day. Try and see some sense in this. There's not a lot of sense. Spoiler alert. It's not a lot of good sense. Good evening, Dash. Let's see who we've got in the chat. I know it's been months since we've streamed. I'll try and explain for anyone who wants an answer to that. We've got Noah, Daniel Thompson, Jurgen Klopp in the building. Seems he's got a bit of free time. Sure, you would have loved to be able to capitalize on this situation, but you're a bit tired. Patrick, Puneet, Suj, Elijah, Mustafa, I mean, yeah, man, some faces in here that I haven't seen in a while. I think the first place that I do want to start off is obviously why we haven't streamed. Oh, well, thanks for listening to the Discord. Yeah, I mean, people in the Discord, in the members Discord, they wanted this. They were fiending for a stream, I think is maybe the right word. They wanted this. They wanted a stream because we haven't had one in a while, and I've wanted to stream as well. But it's been difficult to find the time. Hugh has started a day job, so nights are kind of a little bit iffy in terms of timing wise for him to be able to stream and still do everything he needs to do during the day. And then of course during the day, he's at work. I believe he's still doing college as well, which this time of year for the last 4 years has been, pretty time consuming for him. So there's just not been a lot of time for us to stream. There's been times that, I mean, I could have streamed, but I'd rather not clash with other people. I mean, LB is currently, going towards the end of one of his live streams now. Just from my point of view, I am also a fan. I also do watch other content creators. Before I started doing this, I was watching them, so it makes no sense to clash. I quite like to listen to what they have to say, maybe use some things they say, and try and see it from that angle. So streams are kind of hard to come by. It's not that we didn't want to stop. It's that we just can't really find the time. So the videos have kind of taken over. You guys have been showing some mad support for some of them videos recently. I know it helps that we're losing and people want to see meltdowns, but listen, that's enough of that. That's enough of the real situation. Let's get on to the team. Let's get on to the team. Let's get on to the game. We've already got some GGM news. Puneet is sad. I'm sad. I'm not even mad anymore at this point. Well, I am actually. Because I think there's a clear lack of fight and a clear lack of effort. But it is just sad. Dan, sick of this team. They're all a disgrace. I understand. Briggsy, my friend. Hello, Briggsy. I know you were also at the game as well and you had some troubles afterward. I hope you're all good. I know you had a bit of an accident, so I hope you're all well. I think you said you were. But regardless, how is it going, Briggsy? Been a while since we've talked. I'd love to know what you think because you were in the stadium. Black. Listen, man, you need to be careful in it. But I do actually want to ask you, a couple of things. What do you think of the game because you were there, and what was, the atmosphere like post match? Because I don't feel like there was. I don't feel like there was a lot of emphasis on post-match, what some of the reaction from the players, Pep, the fans. It wasn't really shown too much. Was there booing? Was there, I think I saw a picture that there was 4 players clapping the south stand. I think it was Foden, Haaland, and a couple of others. I forget the names, but just what's the feeling inside the stadium? Briggsy, that's something that I'd quite like to know because all I can gauge is from what I'm seeing online and how I'm feeling and how you lot are feeling in here, and that is a feeling that you're pissed off and you're sick of this team and it's getting a little bit toxic. I'm seeing a couple of where's Hugh, Cameron said it here, Indranil as well. Where is brother Hugh? He's in Manchester. He's getting a flight back in the next half an hour, so. He cannot join me for this one. But again, I will repeat for those who maybe weren't here at the very start. There may be a video tomorrow in which he does, because he was at the game. There may be a video tomorrow night, probably sort of in the evening, on his thoughts about the situation that's going on. Because, let's be honest, it's a situation. So, subscribe. Keep your notifications turned on. Look out for that one. If you want to know his thoughts, they may be up tomorrow if he finds the time to be able to do that. And look, listen, back to the points in hand. Sank to 11 to 12 points. I don't blame you, Briggsy. I don't blame you. But where to start? Let's start with this one from Dan. Nunes needs to have his contract torn up. I've been a big vocal backer of Nunes. And I think that when he's had the chance, he's done okay this season. But, this is as clear as day now that his time is done. his time at the club is done. Nunes, for the betterment of his career, should just leave. He should just leave. He clearly doesn't have the trust of Pep. He's played everywhere on the pitch at this point, it feels like, apart from his actual position in midfield. He's played on the wing. He played as a left back today. I mean, come on, let's be real. Like he's played all around the pitch because Pep clearly doesn't trust him fully to be able to do the job as a midfielder. Otherwise, he'd play him there. I mean, I've been crying out for a little bit of athleticism and not creativity, but athleticism and physicality in the middle. Because I think that's what we've been missing. And Nunes is probably one of the players that you can look at and say would give us that, but he's just not trusted. And when you're not trusted and you don't play that often like he does, when you are given a chance, like he was today, like he has been before, you can't make a mistake. You can't go and do what he did. There was 2 mistakes in one. Like, the penalty that he gave away was stupid. Well, let's rewind about 5-10 seconds before that happened. The back pass, it's just lazy. It's end of the game, 5 minutes to go. That's just laziness. There's nothing else you can say. That's just him not concentrating, and maybe he thinks the game is over. I don't know. But that's laziness, and that puts it in a dangerous position. But Edison actually recovers pretty well to that point. He manages to basically get Ahmad to go away from goal. He's not even facing goal. There's very little danger in that point. And in an effort to try and make up for his back pass, what does Nunes do? Comes steaming in like a fucking train and just takes him out. Gets nowhere near the ball. It's rash. It's stupid. And it's just brainless, man. I don't know how else to say it. Like, there are mistakes where you can kind of understand a little bit and go, well, he was unlucky here. No, that's not unlucky. That's him being an idiot. Like, let's be real here. He's just gone in full force, no control whatsoever, and taken the player out and got nowhere near the ball. He doesn't have to do that. He recovers to a point, but then goes the extra mile and does something stupid. And, I mean, it spirals from there, doesn't it? We are in a situation where we can't even be 1 goal up with 5 minutes to go and not lose that game. Forget drawing, because that can happen. You can be a goal up, 5 minutes to go, you concede an equaliser, you draw the game. We can't even be like 1-0 up, 5 minutes to go, and not lose at this point. Like, those are sorts of goals. Do you remember last season? Maybe the season before, a couple of seasons ago, where you look at games, you look at, home games, the likes of Burnley's and, you name it, those teams where City would be 3-4-0, 4-1 up, 3 or 4 goals clear, bring on a bunch of subs. You'd get Sergio Gomez, Calvin Phillips, Teus Nunes, Oscar Bob, and then we'd concede a stupid goal in like the 88th minute as a consolation because the game's over. We've made a lot of subs and we've just, we know the game is over, so we kind of just fall asleep a little bit. We are doing the exact same thing now, but when we are like 1-0 up or 2-1 up, those sorts of things where we're falling asleep with 5 minutes to go, like we're, 2, 3, 4 goals up, like we used to be. We ain't that team no more. I'm sorry to break it, we are not that team anymore. I mean, the approach today was wildly different. The second half, it was probably about 20 minutes, 25 minutes into the second half. The Sky Sports graphic came up. Man United had like 60% second half possession. We sat back. We tried to defend. We tried to be conservative. We tried to hang on and be a little bit more pragmatic and, adjust to the game that was going on around us instead of trying to still play our way, dominate the ball, make chances, try and make things happen. We realised that we have not won in a long time and we have been on this absolutely horrible run, and then we just need a win. And we tried to just see it home. But bozo moments, stupid defending, just stupid decisions all around, our mentality just being completely shot. too many players playing bad and not enough players to be able to bring in ahead of them. Not enough senior players, because that's a point that I do want to get on to. I mean, it's just a sad state of affairs. Listen, I need to find my soundboard because the chat's been popping off a little bit. Noah, I believe this is the one. Member for 9 months, which is crazy to me. 9 months, a very long time. Very much appreciate you, Noah. I know you were big on wanting this stream. I'm glad I could make it happen. If you do want to be a member, I don't have the little button in front of me to put it in the chat, but it is the top line in the description if you want to help support the channel further. But Noah, the mailman must deliver mail. Pep must win games. Exactly. He's been paid very handsomely. He's one of the best paid managers in world football, and he's being paid to win games. It's not completely his fault, the situation. A lot of it goes down to board level, and a lot of it goes down to the likes of Tiki in terms of when it comes to recruitment. But Pep also shares his share of the blame for what goes on the pitch with what we have, and also shares some of the blame for recruitment, because I'm pretty sure it was common knowledge that he was happy to roll with a small squad again, even though everybody that I knew of was screaming and going, no, Pep, it's going to be a disaster because we're going to play like 70 games and we cannot do this. And I think he's seen the light now. There was a press conference recently that he did saying that he might have to have a bigger squad from now on. Might have to have like a 25-man squad, which is nice to hear, but why is it taking you this long, Pep? I mean, seriously, let's be real. We could all see this coming. Why is it taken until now for you to see this? But Pep's main job now is he has to turn this around. He has to find a way to get a result. And not just a result. We had a result against Forest, and then we pissed it up for the next couple of games. So he needs to find a way to get a run of results. We'll take one at a time for now because it's absolutely horrible. And I'm going to get the fixture list up in a minute and maybe go through that because, I mean, it looks horrible. But his job is to win football games and he's not doing that. So he is currently failing to do his job, what he's paid for, what he was given the contract extension for. But it is a bigger problem. If we're being real, the main root of the problem is just the squad. It's not good enough and not big enough. And that's just the way I see it. And professional sad fan. Unbelievable professional idiot. Unbelievable. It's been a while. You've probably gone through a few alias changes. But professional sad fan. And I can't blame you. Been the lads too old or not good enough. Exactly, professional idiot. Exactly. And a super chat as well. This is on Pep and Tiki. They should have prevented this situation. Pep being arrogant and wanting a small squad, and Tiki for not overriding Pep. Exactly what I just said. I didn't see that super chat before I said it, but you mirror my thoughts exactly. It's on both of them. Pep's thing, Pep's little, I don't know what to call it, fucking hard on for having a small squad is really costing us because we have so many underperforming players that in regular circumstances, any other club with a bigger squad than us, or, even if we didn't, let's say we didn't have all these injuries, underperforming players would be taken out. Kyle Walker would not be playing. Gundogan would not be playing. You're looking at Phil Foden. Phil Foden started today. He would not be playing yet. Haaland would have been taken out. Alvarez would have been playing if this was like last year or the year before. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. Bernardo Silva. I could go on and on and on and on about players not performing and which ones aren't performing. It's most of them, being real. But the thing is about having a squad is you'd rotate them and anyone not performing wouldn't play. And it's that simple. If you're not performing, you don't play. But we can't do that because we've got a mix of injuries and Pep's small squad. And that's where Pep takes the blame. He wants the small squad. He wanted to have like 18, 19 senior players. So he's got to deal with that. But again, it's on Tiki because, I mean, at the end of the day, he is the director of football. I know he's got to take the manager's say into what he does. But at the end of the day, it was clear that we needed a midfield option of some sort in the summer. Probably a couple, but at least one. We've been left with basically what was at the start of the season an injured Rodri. It was already injured before the start of the season. And we didn't replace him when he was injured then. We rolled with Kovacic. We bought in Gundogan for free. And then when he got injured for realsies, when Rodri was properly injured, got his ACL done, we were left short again because we didn't sign anyone. We didn't have anyone to come in and step into that role. So it's just that's completely on Tiki for not getting, someone of that. But then again, we have so many problems going forward. Haaland is the only one who looks like he can put the ball in the back of the net on a consistent basis, but he's not being fed. We're not really creating anything. I mean, look at the game today. Like, did we really create anything? Were we really, creative? Was there any big chances that we made in that game? Even with the players on the pitch, De Bruyne, Foden, Doku, anything really of note? Any sitters that we missed? Not really. And there's no goals coming from anywhere. Because again, let's be real here. If we're being realistic, let's have a look at our forward options, our attacking options. We've got Haaland, who we know is capable of being able to put up incredible goal numbers. If you give him incredible amounts of opportunities, he will score. That is a proven fact. Then you've got someone like Kevin De Bruyne, who will give you unbelievable output. Got an assist again today. He will give you output, but at a less frequent basis, based on the fact that his body can't keep up with the demands of the amount of games that we play. He can't play 70 games. He's going to be injured for a month or two during the season, whether that's all at once or whether that's, spread out across the season. That is a fact. Kevin De Bruyne will miss time during the season because he's old and has had multiple injuries in the same area for a long time now. His hamstring is basically Swiss cheese. It's hanging on by like staples. So you can't rely on him for loads of output because you need to use him sparingly, because you can't afford to use him too much because his body just can't keep up. So you have limited output from Kevin De Bruyne because of having to use him sparingly. Then you've got Phil Foden, who last season, incredible, deserved the player of the season, player of the year, and all them individual awards. But then you look at this season where he's completely fallen off. He hasn't scored a league goal this season, which is terrible. It's absolutely farcical. He really needs to put his ideas up. Like, that's on him to turn it around. But when he's not providing output, you tend to the winger situation. Bernardo Silva, never been a high output guy, just kind of been a complementary piece to those around him. He's been very, very good. But having to shoulder more responsibility, he's not that sort of a guy. He's very good, or he has been very good with the pieces that he's been playing with and that he's being asked to complement. But when that system changes and his role changes and he's being asked a little bit more to contribute, it's not going well. And let's move on to the other wingers. I mean, Grealish and Savio are two wingers who look like they don't even know where the goal is. Like, again, let's be real. It's been what? I forget the exact number, but has it been 40 games since he scored? I don't know whether it's a league goal, Jack Grealish. I don't know whether that's just league or not. It wouldn't surprise me if it's just in general. Like, when was the last time this guy, scored a goal? When was the last time he looked like scoring a goal? Like, let's just call it how it is. We have one player that you can look to that is going to bury his chances in Haaland. And then you've just kind of got the rest, like Grealish and Savio. They look like they don't know which end they're supposed to be shooting in. They look the furthest away from scoring, even though they're playing on the wing. Doku's kind of the same. He's the one I have the most confidence in. But even then, it's still not great confidence because his end product is still streaky. His decision-making and just overall football IQ still isn't there because he's a young player and he's still got time to develop those sorts of things. So he's kind of adds to the problem really if we play with wide players, but they're all well and good for keeping hold of the ball. And I mean, don't get me wrong, individually I quite like these players. Grealish, I understand his value. I have done for a bit. I've been a defender of Jack Grealish. For the most part, really, in terms of what he brings. Doku, I still think there's something there. He's probably one of the players right now that I can look at and go, he's trying. He's trying to take players on and make things happen. And Savio as well. I was impressed with his start to the season, even though he hasn't scored. He's still got a couple of assists. He can cross a ball. can dribble, take a man on, so it's very exciting to watch. But at what point, do you kind of go, well, look, mate, you're going to have to score eventually. The amount of defensive concentration it takes, and the amount of space that Haaland occupies, and the space that he leaves with dragging defenders towards him. You're going to have to score at some point. You're going to have to capitalize on that. You're going to have to do something because, his finishing has been woeful, and that just adds to it. Our one goal today came from a corner, which the cross, was a short corner, cross back in, was deflected, and it was a little bit lucky. We've not really created much because Haaland gets marked out of the game. We can't hit him with an easy chance or, get him something that works. We can maybe every now and again. But then we've got no one else who looks like scoring. So that's one side of the problem. And then defensively, everybody's gone through defensively. There are so many injuries in that part, but there are also so many underperforming areas. And again, midfield balance does not help because when we get caught in transition, having Gundogan who can give you about 10 yards of running before it looks gassed in a transition basically leaves, players running at speed at our back three, back four, whatever the man count is back there. And that's kind of a big problem right now. So in terms of the makeup of the squad, it's just lack of quality in certain areas and lack of certain attributes that make a good team. You need to have balance in your team. And we don't have a lot of balance. We have a lot of good individual pieces, but put together, it's pretty shocking, really. And that's showing on the pitch. It is that it doesn't look coherent. It doesn't look like they complement each other. There's certain times where it looks like players aren't on the same wavelength and they're trying to do one touch, two touch, and, sometimes a pass maybe 1 or 2 yards short or 1 or 2 yards over hit. And again, players not being on the same wavelength, little layoffs going to no one because there's just no one there. Like, it's just kind of a mess in all areas. Just to kind of sum that up, if you look from basically after we won the treble, the 2 summer windows after we won the treble, they've been shocking. Signing wise, Vardiol being the only real major hit that you can point to. Savio is up in the air. We don't know how that one's going to pan out. But even then, we win 4 league titles in a row, and our summer window after winning 4 league titles in a row is to sign Savio and a 34-year-old free agent Ilkay Gundogan. It's disgraceful. That is not the sort of transfer window you want after winning your 4th league title in a row. It's a 34-year-old, and then a young up-and-coming winger who's had, let's be real, 1 good season at a top level. It's just not the window you want. I'm a big, firm believer in, if you're not moving forwards, you're moving backwards because everybody else is catching up. Everybody else is signing players, doing things. Liverpool got a new manager in, Arsenal signed players, United signed players, Chelsea signed players, new manager. Every other club's been busy of some sort trying to close the gap. And we just stagnated. We stood there. And if you're not going forwards in most competitive environments, you're going backwards because you're standing still and you're refusing to, keep pushing and keep moving forward. And that's not the way that this thing works. We've prided ourselves on being really well run, solving problems before they arise, and being ruthless, telling club legends, listen, you're old, we don't need you anymore, you can go. It's just completely backfired on us because we've taken our foot off the gas, whether it's to do with legal situations or whatever. No idea. I'm not going to turn this into a 115 stream. I genuinely do not have the time of day. I don't want to do that. But it is a valid point to make because that is obviously a big area of focus for the board, is things like that. So I don't know what the reasoning is, but it's still not been good enough. And it falls on Tiki and then at some points Pep, because again, Pep probably was given a few names, but he wanted the small squad. And now we're paying the price. I just don't expect anything to get any better unless we sign anyone in January. I think we will sign someone because we have to. If we don't sign someone, that is a complete lack of ambition and basically a big waving of the white flag going, yeah, season's a write-off, we'll look at it in the summer. And that's not what I want to happen. You know, we still got to finish in the top 4 or top 5, whatever the European places are. So, you know, I think we will do something because we have to. But up until that point, I know we've got Villa and Everton. I think Leicester are in there as well. I have no hope whatsoever of doing much up until that point. I mean, if you don't laugh, you cry. So good to see you too. Especially good to see you too. Another couple of member chats. Let's hit the soundboard again. Daniel Thompson, member for 8 months. I agree with what everyone is saying. There is a lot of unanimous opinions, agreements, mentality not being there from professional idiot. Listen, I understand. I think, you know, most people are in agreement here. I mean, I'm looking at Dan. The mistake is Cancelo getting spun on the high line level mistake. It's stupid. But even then, you can say Cancelo slipped, and even though it's still a bad mistake, you can try and make an excuse. With Nunes, there's nothing. With Nunes, there's nothing. So, I mean, United team was crap and they beat us. Nunes shit show. Again, it's you don't want to lump it on players. But at the same time, how can you not blame moments? Because, I mean, if we look at the overall pattern of the game, the fact that we were 1-0 up to begin with, you know, up until that point, 85 minutes in, was, you know, shambolic. We'd done absolutely nothing. Sorry, I'm ill. We'd done absolutely nothing up until that point to deserve to be 1-0 up. United had missed a couple of good chances. So we were really lucky to be 1-0 up. And then they hit us with 2 goals. I mean, it's nothing less than what we deserved. We weren't very good, and we were very lucky to be 1-0 up. But regardless of luck and situation, when you're 1-0 up in the 85th, 86th minute, you do not lose that game. Drawing is bad enough, but you do not lose that game. And we lost. And it is the moments that cost us, because, I mean, the mistake for the penalty, and then I have no idea why we are not switched on after that. We've just been hit by a sucker punch, a penalty, a last-minute equaliser. Why is, all of about 2-3 minutes later, why is there a player bearing down on goal? It is beyond me. I really don't understand that. How are we not switched on? We've just been hit by a goal. That's the wake-up call. I don't know what we're doing. It's just poor overall defending. I mean, Walker wasn't our worst defender, but I really think he was still pretty bad. He was getting spun. And then the fake acting as well with Kyle Walker. Again, I mean, I've been very vocal about the fact that I think he's just done. I'm still shocked that he's captain and playing as much as he is. But I think he's done. But the play acting today, I mean, what is he doing? There's VAR, mate. If he's headbutted you, he'll be off. You know, but he didn't. So why have you fell to the ground like a ton of bricks? Who are you trying to fool? There's cameras everywhere. There's 4K evidence that he, for one, hasn't moved his head into you yet. I mean, they've got their heads up against each other. But that's about it. There's no, like, movement. There's no headbutt involved. And then for 2, he waits and waits. If you watch the replay, he has a delayed reaction to the clash of heads. A delayed reaction. Like, you're not getting away with that. It's just stupid. So, yeah, funny. He wasn't even our worst defender. But, I mean, let's not act like that wasn't really difficult. I mean, Nunes was playing left back, gave away a penalty, and really wasn't great. You know, anything staggering throughout the game. Diaz got away with something that probably should have been a penalty as well. Like, it's just, you know, one of these, you know what I mean? I just run out of things to say with Kyle Walker. I really do. I mean, I do see people saying, you know, why is he not talking? I don't mind him not talking, because when he opened his mouth last season, everything that came out of it made me like, want to put a sock in it. Like, really, the things he was saying last season were everything wrong. I disagreed with so many things that he said about last season when he was doing, press release stuff, that I just wanted him to close his mouth and never speak again. So I'm not too arsed that I know he's captain and he probably should, but I'm not too bothered because, he's a damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. Because, the fact that he's not doing it, he's got people saying, why you're not doing it, you're the captain, you should be. But then you've got, when he does do it, you got people like me saying, why are you saying that? What on earth is going through your head? Please just shut up. So I'm not too bothered about his post-match stuff, but he's done. He's done for me. And then Bree, member for 8 months. Incredible stuff. 1 win in 11 is disgusting, and Villa 1 in 12 soon. Fun times, Bree, fun times. I am actually, now that you've reminded me, thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for becoming a member again, and you as well, Daniel Thompson. I'm going to get the fixture list in front of me because we need to get real about the situation. We need to be real about what is put in front of us. Because this could get messy. This could be at a point where you're looking at 1 win in 12, 13, 14, 15, is our next win against Salford in the Cup just because it's Salford and they're down in what, League 1, League 2, and we're at home? Is that really what we're hanging our hat on? Like, serious argument to make that that might be our next win. At least with the way we're playing now. You never know. We did beat Forest, and Forest have been unbelievable so far this season. And we beat them quite handedly. I don't know how that happened. So maybe that happens again. But the way we're playing right now, it's just unbelievable. Really well and truly. And I'm in full agreement, Bree. I'm in full agreement. No, absolutely zero hope against Villa. I had some hope today because we were at home, and most times in derbies, form goes out the window. How many times did they beat us? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer used to, make a living out of beating us when they are absolutely terrible. But just because it's a derby, those things can happen. So I held out a bit of hope that it was a derby and we'd come out swinging and because we were at home, we'd get something. But maybe more fool me at that point because, more fool me for believing that this team can do anything because, they're a waste of time at the moment. And I do really want to know if there were boos, and if there weren't, why? We've booed for less. I've been in the stadium when we've booed for less. You know what I mean? So, for all the good they've done over the years, there becomes a point where you've just kind of let them know, listen, this is unacceptable. And one way you can do about that is be vocal. And being vocal in the stadium where they can actually hear it. Not just on social media where they may or may not see it, but in the stadium. I think that's one way to do it. And I don't know whether we've done that yet. I haven't heard it, but it's not like I've really been listening out for it. So look, listen, it's just one of them things. But I have no hope for Aston Villa, no hope at all. Because they have one thing that we don't, and that is a balanced midfield with various qualities, enough athleticism, creativity, goal scoring, etc., you name it. They've got enough balance in there, and off the bench as well. Let's not forget they have a few bench options. Our midfield is old, slow, and just past it, essentially, and just really off of form, and we have to play them because Pep just does not trust the kids. So 1 win in 12 soon come. Can't wait. I'm just glad that's the last game before Christmas. Like, I don't need any more pain, please. That's enough for me. Big up Sal with the CA 279. Need Verts, Bruno, Frimpong, another centre back, winger. I can't say we don't. The shopping list is getting bigger. As the days go along. Bruno solves the issue with number 6. Can obviously play as a number 8, can complement Rodri, play instead of Rodri when he gets back to fitness, play instead of him now that he's injured and free us from the shackles of Gundogan or Kovacic. Verts would be a summer thing, 110%, but again, you've got to kind of, are Real Madrid interested? What's going on with Xabi Alonso? Is he going to be Real Madrid manager? If so, does that lean you towards him going to Madrid? Of course, Musiala's kind of off the table now because of his contract, his new one. That I don't know whether it's official, but he's going to be signing it, or I believe he is. So, you kind of pivot towards Verts, which again, not a bad player whatsoever. Really, really good. Had a really good Champions League campaign so far, I believe. And solves the issue of being able to create a bit more, but also add goals from other areas, being able to play in the midfield and add something, a little bit of youth there as well. So just, an injection of energy, something else, just someone who's going to run and potentially score and create things moving into the final third. That'd be nice. Frimpong, I'm a bit 50-50 on Frimpong. I always have been 50-50 on Frimpong. I don't think he's a bad player. I think he's really good at what he does. It just concerns me a little bit with the defensive side of things. I'm not saying he's completely inept, but he's practically been playing as a winger for the last season and a half. Like, it's a wing back, but he's very, very high, which doesn't really concern me too much going forward. Because when you're basically playing centre backs at left back, and playing with this back three thing, then him being free to go up as high as he wants, fine by me. That could work. I believe that if that was to be a signing, which I'm not totally against anymore, but I am still kind of 50-50. But Pep would make it work. I believe we would make something work with that, and it's an option. We do need a right back at the end of the day because Kyle Walker is done. So we're going to need someone there. Another centre back again. I agree with the sentiment that a lot of people are saying on Twitter that, listen, one of Stones or Ake, gotta kick rocks, gotta get them up out of here because we're struggling for defensive numbers, and these two guys are always injured. Stones more than Ake, but Ake's still a problem. But Stones is like, you get 30 games a season maybe out of him max. It's shocking, really. So a new centre back would be welcome, not only to give it a bit of a change, a bit of a freshen up at the back, because maybe that can help solve a few problems, new fresh face, new competition, but just solve a problem we have of having constantly never fit defenders. And then a winger, again, what's Grealish's role going forward? Is it still winger? Is it, in the midfield? Is it not at the club anymore? I don't really know. When he's not offering output like he does, how valued is his role when those pieces around him aren't offering output? You know what I mean? It's all well and good him having the treble season and being as good at what he does, as he is. He still hasn't lost that ability. But in the treble season, Haaland was scoring near 60 goals. Kevin De Bruyne was fit for most part of the running. Gundogan was able to chip in with goals. Rodri was there. You know what I mean? So he was able to not have to contribute as much because of the players around him. Even when you look at last season, Foden, with the amount of goals that he ended up contributing with, Rodri had an unbelievable season worth of output. Him not having to be relied upon to produce output, produce numbers. It was okay, but when we're struggling and he's not producing, it really does throw a question of what do you do with him? Pep's tried him in midfield to see if that brings a change, and maybe it does, but time will tell with that one. But needing a new winger, I understand it, because when you look at Doku and Savio, both young, both kind of hit and miss at the moment while they develop. Doku's a bit further along because he's already been here for a year, so you'd hope that it wouldn't be too long before you start to see a little bit more. I think it's been an improvement than what it was last season so far, I would say. Or maybe not by much, but a little bit of an improvement. But then Bernardo Silva, again, he's just, again, same thing as Grealish. He's all well and good when he doesn't have to contribute too much. But when he is he's in the leadership group, he's one of the 5 captains. and when everything around him is not going so well, it's up to him to kind of pick up the slack, and that's never been something that I feel like you can rely upon. He might chip in every now and then, but it's not something that's not his game, you know what I mean? So, again, questions about him. So, new winger, potentially. Who that would be, who would it even be linked to, I really don't know. Because I don't think the winger market is too great right now in terms of availability, in terms of names that are actually, we're able to get. I don't think it's necessarily the best of lists right now, as it is in multiple positions. I think the market is weak. Manager market, I think, is weak, which is why I was a big, believer in getting Pep tied down if we could, because I think, bar maybe one or two names, it's not great. But that is a solid shopping list. So that is a solid shopping list, and it's something that, listen, if we have ambition, and if we still have the will to want to win, then that is the sort of thing we need to do. It's not just a case of 3 in, 2 out. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing net spend FC. We're not doing. We've had record revenues. Can I give a fuck about record revenues for? When we've got 1 win in 11, the fuck could I care for? You got ambition. Use that revenue. Use your ever-increasing season ticket prices and membership prices and merchandise. Use all of that money and go and sign some players. Go and sign some actual talent. Go and sign some world-class footballers. No cheap shopping. No projects. We've done projects for the last 2 years. Now look at us. Doku, Savio, Nunes was a panic. Kovacic was a stopgap. Guardiola. No projects. Need proven ballers over here now to remain at the top. You know what I mean? Or to get back to the top. We ain't remaining at the top. We're gone from the top. We fell. And we fell far. So we need a shopping list. And we need a lot of big names. Maybe not necessarily big prices, but big names. We need names. We need proven quality. None of these projects. I don't like this anymore. Anyway, let's get on to the next member chat. I believe is the last one before we move on to some other things. Big up Harry Briggsy for 10 months. That's wild. 10 months. Hit the like, so. Be much appreciated if you do subscribe and hit the like button. It really helps us out. I may do this more often. I may stream on my ones when I find the time. When people are, wanting this. If people want this, I can make this more of a regular occurrence if you want to have chats, especially when we're in runs like this and you just want to kind of hash it out and talk a few things over it and get a few things off your chest. I can make this happen. I can make this a regular occurrence, but if you're lucky, we are doomed to relegation. No European football next season, so we won't be getting Vetoed or Bruno G. It's not that bad. Or it shouldn't be. If it gets to that bad, then I want heads to be rolling. Like, I'm talking Pep, I'm talking Tiki, I'm talking whoever it is at the top. If it gets that bad, considering we're on 27 points, a few games off the halfway stage, you'd imagine. But we're safe, hopefully. But if it gets that bad, genuinely, there's been a few people that have asked, in the Discord, and I've seen it on Twitter, what does Pep have to do to be sacked? That's, for me, if we're not anywhere close to a European place, if we're down near the bottom, regardless of how bad you think the squad is, if we're down the bottom, that's unacceptable. It's flat out unacceptable with the players that we have. So that cannot happen. I don't think it's as bad as relegation, though. I really don't think it's that bad yet. We're on a relegation run of form. Yes, I will give you that. Well, I'm not worrying about that. What I am worrying about is what European competition we'll be playing in, if at all, next season. That is something that I am worrying about a little bit. So I really don't know. I mean, it'd be weird. It'd be kind of nice to play in the Europa League or Conference League, God forbid, considering we ain't won it. And the expectation would be that if we do drop to that level, which again, inexcusable. We've been on a run of over a decade now. I've lost count of the amount of years in a row that we have qualified for the Champions League. And if we lose that, that's a disgrace. Because how'd you go from first to like fifth, maybe even sixth if fifth ends up getting Champions League place given the new format and the extra places? It's too much of a fall off for me. So, league gone, but I'm still, my expectation does not dip from top four after that. I'm not allowing myself to move my expectations that low. You got to have some form of standard. So get me Champions League football next season, recover in that way. We go again next season. You've already cost yourself the league by the summer. The summer transfer window costs you the league. So don't cost yourself top four by not giving a shit and not putting in effort and looking half-assed. And I mean, it looks like they're not playing for Pep, the fans, not even playing for themselves. Just kind of there, innit? So, listen, it is what it is in that regard. I don't know why people are saying title race over. It was over 1 month ago. Yeah, it was. It was over when we went the entire month of November without winning a single game of football. And now we're into December and that run has kind of continued. We went an entire month, calendar month, went entirety of November without winning a game of football. So that's where it was lost, really. If you were still believing, after all the injuries and the lack of business that we did, if we were still truly believing, for whatever reason, copium, happy clapper, non-happy clapper, don't care. If you were still believing for whatever reason, then that should have been the sign. So listen, is what it is. Let's talk about how badly Alvarez is missed. King Aguero said he was twice the player of Haaland, which looks to be true. Disagree with the twice the player as Haaland, but I do agree with the sentiment of Alvarez being missed. It's crazy to me how... Okay, there's a little bit of revisionism here, because I wasn't against Alvarez being sold. I was actually quite okay with him being sold, given the fact that it was a record transfer fee for us. You know, it was our record sale. So it was kind of money that you don't really want to turn down if that comes about, because, I mean, let's be clear, it was a bit of an overpay from Atletico Madrid for, you know, the player that he was. And you add to the fact that regardless of what you thought about him as a player, you know, he was going to leave within the next couple of years anyway, unless he magically became first choice because Haaland left. He was not going to accept spending his years on the bench as a second choice, playing out of position even, to accommodate Haaland, when he will himself have had some pride about his own performance and his own ability. So realistically, you are looking at the fact that within the next couple of years, he'd probably ask out anyway. And at that point, you might not get the same money. So as a overall standpoint of Alvarez, not against the sale. However, this is where you get me. You don't sell him if you're not going to buy someone to replace him. I think that goes without saying. That's the nail in the coffin for me. When I remember doing streams during the summer transfer window, and I said this, not against him going, but you got to sign someone, an attacking player. Doesn't even have to be a striker, because at the time we were looking at Eze, but you have to sign someone. You have to sign an attacking player who can replace what you're losing, which is what I said was output. I described Alvarez as, you know, he was one of the best number 2 strikers for what he was. He was a switch-up player from Haaland. He'd be much more, you know, link-up play orientated, and, you know, he wasn't as big, so it wasn't, you know, crosses and physicality and holding the ball up. But he get involved in build-up play. He had to link up with players, you know, drift around the pitch, find some space, you know, those sorts of things. But what what you couldn't say about Alvarez's performances in terms of when he was asked to play out of position is, I mean, let's analyse him out of position. when he was asked to play in what was essentially a number 10 role, being sort of just off of Haaland in this number 10 role as sort of a second striker, his actual overall performances weren't great. His first touch wasn't great. His passing wasn't great. He didn't have midfield quality. He didn't have midfield attributes. That was the one thing that I always said, is that watching him in midfield, yes, he might get output, but the actual performances aren't great because the things that you need to have in order to be, good in that role, which is a number 10, is mainly, tight spaces and unlocking the door and finding passes into the final third. He wasn't good at that because that wasn't his game. But the one thing that you could always say is, regardless of, what he was doing, in terms of, all of his link-up play and all the other things, he would guarantee you output. He would guarantee you a solid 30 GNA as a backup. So, that being said, I said when we sold him, listen, I'm not annoyed that we've sold him. I know it's guaranteed output and we know what he does and we know what he can do. And it'd be nice to keep him around and whatever. But you replace him with an attacker. Again, Alvarez spent most of his time playing off of Haaland as a second striker. Only really got a solid run as a striker when Haaland was injured. So realistically, if you were to just sign another attacking player, whether that be number 10 or a winger, whatever, it would probably be okay. It would probably do. Because the striker market, in terms of what we were looking for, you had to try and find a guy who was willing to be a backup, because Haaland is Haaland. Let's be clear, he's number 1. So you had to try and find a guy who was accepting of being a backup whilst also being good enough to play for us, which narrows down the search completely. And that maybe can also play in a few different positions, play out of position, and was willing to do that and play out of position. Because again, Haaland's fit plays. So, it was a hard list, but it was doable. There were options that we could have tried that would have been better than doing nothing. And saying McAtee can handle the reins and plays a false 9 and he's really good in the pockets, and then not even fucking playing James McAtee ever. I mean, what was the point? Why did Pep reject potential signings of that to settle with what he had already in the squad? Again, I'm not angry that we sold him, even though he's doing really well, and would have solved, a couple of problems that we had in terms of being able to score goals and having goals come from other areas and solve some attacking issues. I'm not angry that we sold him, and I still don't think it was a bad thing to sell him. Still don't. I don't think I ever will. The one thing that really, really does annoy me is that we didn't replace him. For whatever reason. I believe in the fact that Pep said no to options. There was Kyogo. There was a couple of young players dotted around Europe that we could have signed, I believe. I forget the name of the guy, but he was, I don't know whether he's at now or whether he was at Copenhagen. He was like 19 or whatever, but still, an option. We were looking at Eze. I believe there was, possibly others, to that list. I don't think it was just, those names. But I believe Pep said no. And said, I'm happy with what I've got. I've got McAtee, I've got this player, that player. But then, we get to the season, players are underperforming, Haaland's underperforming, doesn't look interested at times, body language isn't really great, struggling to score goals outside of that. You've got James McAtee, who you've kept and heaped so much praise on and played him all of pre-season. And then you never just play him. You never play him. So your backup that you were happy with to have in James McAtee, to keep the small squad, you don't trust him. You don't trust him because he never plays. And that's what really gets me, is that we vetoed a signing. Pep said, no, I don't want this player. I'm happy with my squad. and settled for a player that he either doesn't think is good enough or doesn't trust. And that was where the missing of Alvarez goes. It only feels bad because we didn't do what we needed to do, which is replace him. If we replaced him, fine. I would not in this bad of a situation, attacking wise, because we have someone who we can look to from the bench or to start and go, yeah, they're a different option. Can you imagine if we would have signed an Eze, being able to have him, playing in midfield or maybe even playing out on the wing and, trying to make things happen, or whether we did sign Kyogo and Kyogo gives us something different. You know what I mean? It's that sort of thing where we're missing that because we didn't sign it. We're not missing it because of the player Alvarez was. We're missing it because we let a player in that position go and then just didn't replace him. That's the missing part of it. So it looks really bad now. But because we didn't do what was necessary to compete, which then falls back onto both Pep and the board. Because Pep, as a one, should not be saying, no, I don't want this player, I'm happy with my squad, when he's clearly not, because he's not, using the players that he said he was happy with. But then it goes on Tiki as well, as a board. You should override that, give him the player. It's on you to build the squad and do transfer business and keep us at the top. The transfer window was a sham. You should have pulled out more of the stops. So, listen, at the end of the day, Alvarez is a miss, but only because we didn't replace him properly. All because we didn't replace him properly. I mean, I get your point on I get your point with Alvarez's output. He started slow at Madrid, but he's really warmed to it there. Not pun intended, the weather. But again, it's not, for me, it's not an Alvarez issue. Yes, it would be nice to still have him. Yes, he would solve issues with the team. Yes, we wouldn't be on as bad a run as we are now because we would be scoring more goals. And even though we're leaking goals, we will be scoring more, I believe. But that, again, it's not on the fact that we let Alvarez go. So we just didn't replace him. Didn't replace him. Because for one reason or another, I believe it's Pep saying that he didn't want to sign in and that he rejected the signing of someone. But listen, man, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. We're put in this situation because the two most powerful people at the top are, they rested on the laurels, didn't they? I mean, we didn't do the business to go and get Bruno. We had a release clause. We didn't do that. And then Pep was saying to other signings, no, I don't want them. So, listen, I know what you're saying, Devious. Look, Pep blocked the signing of Kyogo. I think so too. I think he was offered that because it was a quick solution. It was a transfer that would have been easy enough to get done. And a player that we would have already known a little bit about. With having Ange being at Celtic, Ange being a former CFG manager. So I don't think it would have been too unfamiliar of a player, someone that we'd maybe possibly looked at before. We played them in pre-season as well. But Pep said no. Pep said no. That's truly what I believe. So I don't know why. I really don't know why, because, again, I think it solves problems. But listen, he's put us in this situation. He's put himself in this situation whereby the squad is not good enough and it's not big enough. And some of that is his problem and he needs to fix it, because you can't just say he's immune just because of what he's done. Like the rest of the players, can't just say they're immune from criticism or being sold or sacked or let their contract run down or whatever, just because of what they've done in the past. We can't live in that. You need to be ruthless to stay at the top. That's what we did for so many years. That's why we run 4 in a row. Because we looked at Aguero when his body was letting him down and said, you know what, you're free to go. We don't want you anymore. We're not going to extend your contract. You know what I mean? Played without a striker for 2 years. That year being one of it because he just wasn't fit. Then we played without one for the season after. And then we signed Haaland. We did ruthless activities. Shoved players out of the door when maybe we could have got something more because we wanted to move on. But the last couple of transfer windows, we did it completely wrong. And it is a far cry from what we've been used to. I mean, City Forever says could have had mint wingers, but Pep decided to sell Morgan Rogers, Jadon Sancho, and Jamie Bino Gittins. And then you add to that list as well, Cole Palmer, not a winger, but I can name more players, Lavia, Tosin, McAtee will probably be added to that list soon enough. There are players out there that we have produced that are playing really well and tearing it up. And we sold them. We sold them because, I mean, that's what we do with our young players. We pick a couple. We got Foden in there. Got Rico Lewis in there. Oscar Bob, when he returns from injury, being and about, whether he will, I don't know. Hope he does, because I think he's great. Had a really good preseason, unfortunate with the injury, but knowing Pep and young players, it's a lottery as to whether he survives. Morgan Rogers, Cole Palmer, not surviving, balling out. Lavia, balling out. I mean, we can't let McAtee or O'Reilly or anyone that we've got now, even Liam Delap at Ipswich, goodness sake, another one that we let go. You telling me he couldn't have been a backup for Haaland? It's just ridiculous the amount of young players that we get rid of, just because we see easy profit. These players maybe signed for a few 100,000, maybe 1 million, peanuts or free from properly through the academy, not signed from any other academy. And then we get a 10 million bid and go, you know what, profit, business. Stop running like a business. Run like a football club. If there's quality there, use it. We need a bigger squad. It's time to use some of these young players. I think that's kind of the note that I want to end on. I mean, I'm looking at the fixture list. I was going to go through it, but I don't want to face the music. But if you're going to pad out the squad, use some young players. If these senior players are letting you down, letting us down, because they are letting us down, because, I mean, maybe not me specifically, because I haven't gone to a game this season. But many of you in the chat that, I've spoken to before, go to games, have season ticket, pay subscriptions for certain streaming services to watch these games. You pay your money, you buy the kits, you purchase memberships and streaming services and all of this other stuff. You sink your money into this club, this is what you get. So if these senior players are letting us down, and these senior players are letting Pep down and not playing to the standards that they have set for themselves, then play the kids. Simple as that. I think within the next few games, if we see the same thing happen against Aston Villa from this point next weekend, we've seen the same thing happen against Everton. I want to see some of the kids. I want to see some of the young players. I don't want no excuses. I don't want nothing. McAtee be playing, given a chance. Nico O'Reilly given a chance. It can't be any worse. It literally cannot get worse than what we have got now. So give them a chance. If you believe they were good enough to be part of the squad, and if you rejected signings based on the fact that you believe that these players were ready to contribute, played them at Wembley against Man United in the Community Shield, gave them a pre-season, gave them games in pre-season and minutes to get them ready for the season, I've had them in and around the squad, training with the first team. If you believe these guys are ready, you've got to play them. Because right now, your senior players are letting you down. Pep Guardiola. So you got to use them. You got to use them before they inevitably get sold and turn out to be gems. And then we look in a few years and go, oh, what could have been? Yeah, I don't want that to happen anymore. So if same thing happens against Villa, which it will, because I don't see any change or anything that warrants me to think there will be a change, then I want to see some drastic team changes. I want to see some young players given a chance. Because, again, season is pretty much over at this point in terms of league, maybe even in terms of top four. Season's over. We're not winning anything. And it can't get any worse. You had one win in 11. Probably one win in 12. we literally can't sink any lower than what we are right now. It's almost impossible. So you got nothing to lose playing the young players. I don't see why he doesn't do it. I really don't see how he does it. I mean, City Forever comes back in again. Pedro Porro, Jeremy Frimpong, Howard Bellis, Liam Delap. I mean, you could go on and on and on and on and make a list of players that are currently playing really, really well for their clubs, that have come from the CFG, the CFA, the footballing academy that produces gems, but never for our club, because we only trust, one every 3 years. I mean, Pep's been here for 9 years? He's had Foden, now Rico Lewis, maybe Oscar Bob if he sticks around. The rest, they've been sold, or they're probably going to be sold. I really don't understand. We had an under-23 side that I believe matched us for league titles and won 3 in a row, or it was at least 2. And we sold most of them. They're not here anymore. We don't have them. Pretty sure the only one that survived them teams was James McAtee, and he's not really being used. Palmer's gone. Delap's gone. Don't really care about how many buybacks we've got, because are we going to use them? Oh, we've got sell-on clauses, so when they inevitably, when Liam Delap gets snapped up by a club a couple of years down the line, probably when Ipswich get relegated, because, I mean, it's all likely. They've just come up. They will struggle to keep in the Premier League if a club bigger than that comes in for him. Don't worry, guys, we've got a 40% sell-on, because I care about the business side so much. It's just... It's baffling. It really is baffling. It's making me heated. Again, I really don't want to do it. So listen, I'm gonna slowly wrap this one up. I never understood the point of both putting buyback clauses on these young players when Pep will literally never buy anyone back. Exactly. Only player he's ever bought back in terms of signed twice. I know he had Thiago at Barcelona and then bought him to Bayern. Kind of different. He didn't buy Thiago at Barcelona. But he worked with him twice. Is Angelino. I mean, he's doing all right, isn't he? But it's just another one. Did he sign him twice? I actually don't know. I know we had him and bought him back, but I don't know whether Pep signed him twice. Angelino was the only one he bought back. I think City Forever. And even then, did he really buy him the first time? He didn't really leave the EDS, did he? He kind of just got sent out on loan. And then sold and then bought back. So even though we did technically buy him twice, he didn't use him the first time, did he? It's Gundogan, really. It's the main one that it was his first signing for the club. And that's the last signing that we've made. The first signing that we made in the Pep Guardiola era was Ilkay Gundogan. The last signing that we have currently made in the Pep Guardiola era is Ilkay Gundogan at 34 for free. I mean, that tells you exactly where we are. We didn't put our foot on the gas and carry on. We just settled. And look how the Gundogan transfer is going. It's not gone well at all. This experiment's failed. Well and truly. He's not been good at all whatsoever. He shouldn't have been relied upon as much as he has done. But he is. And it's just not what we need right now. So, he's never going to buy these young players back because he doesn't buy players that he already had. If they're moved on, they're moved on for good, usually. That's just a thing he does. So it's pointless, really. Once they're gone, they're gone. But again, guys, don't worry, guys. Don't worry. We've got a 30-40% sell-on clause, profit clause. So when they inevitably go to a big club and ball out in the, at the elite level, like a Cole Palmer, who I know went straight to Chelsea, but Romeo Lavia is the one there. Went to Southampton. Looked pretty good. Southampton got relegated. Chelsea swooped in. Balling out. Near the top of the league. When I didn't want to sell Lavia. I didn't want to sell Palmer. But it's all right. We've got sell-on clauses, so the business of it is right. We did good business, guys. Again, I don't care about the statement that came out the other day that said record profits and this much money and that much money. A load of fucking nonsense to me. I don't care whatsoever. I care about what happens on the pitch. And what happens on the pitch is I'm seeing players that we could have had for nothing go and ball out for other clubs because we saw a bit of profit and we saw that we could top the net spend Premier League and shut up the rival fans who say we bought it all, but we didn't buy it all because we were top of the net spend league and we actually spent the least in terms of net spend. Just fucking nonsense. And I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. And I really hope that McAtee gets given his chance because, again, can't be any worse. And I don't want him to be another Palmer that goes somewhere else and balls out. Same thing with Nico O'Reilly. Just don't, whatever you do, just see if they can put something together that you are not getting from the senior players, which they probably will, because unlike the senior players who have won it all and have very little to prove and look like they don't care, those young players, academy players, they'll run harder, they'll put in more of a shift, they'll care, they'll show more fight, show more passion. I know it's kind of cliche and a little bit cringe to go passion and desire, but we ain't got none of it right now. All of our players at the moment look like they don't care. They're just going through the motions. Oh, we lost again. Oh, we'll come out in the media and say, oh, we deserve it and we're in a bad run and you know, there's quality in the squad. Bollocks. Don't care. Show me it. Don't say it. Show me it. You know what I mean? And I know for a fact that if any of them young players were given the opportunity to play, they would show me that they care and they would fight for more minutes. They would fight for the badge. They'd give more than we're getting now from the senior players. And I want to see it, but I doubt it. I really do doubt it. Where is Hugh? On a plane somewhere, probably flying back to Dublin. I imagine at this time of night, I would hope his plane is not like significantly delayed because that would just be the icing on the cake. But he was at the game today. So it was just me for this one tonight. Again, I'll explain it one more time because I'm about to end this video. If you would subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications on. If he finds the time tomorrow, he will do a video and kind of condense his thoughts in a video tomorrow. That'll be probably tomorrow evening. Again, if he manages to find the time. I know he's a bit busy right now, but he did text me and say that he wanted to do that tomorrow. That was an idea he had. So I'll turn your notifications on, and if that comes out, you won't miss that, and you'll be able to see what he says. But I imagine it'll be similar to what I said. Maybe slightly different because he went to the game and he was at the game and he maybe saw it a bit differently, but same message. The players are just disgraceful. The management of the squad at the summer window has been terrible, and we all kind of called it really, and you know, kind of saw that this might happen, and now that it is happening, just kind of numb to it really. Aston Villa will hammer us, probably Manchester City, probably. I mean, I'm fully expecting it. I'm fully expecting to get battered just before Christmas. It doesn't really affect me, you know what I mean? Like today, I'm a bit more annoyed today because I thought that it being a derby, they might show us something, but all they showed me is that they really and truly don't care too much. Because if you're not gonna step it up for a derby, then why would you step it up for a random away game at Aston Villa? So, listen, man, it is what it is. Thanks to everybody who came in during this live stream. I know it was out of the blue and we haven't streamed for a while. But there was some good chatting here. A few of the regulars back. A few member chats that I will go through. And thank you all, super chats as well. Big up Harry Briggsy for 10 months. Bree for 8 months. Daniel Thompson for 8 months. Professional Idiot for 7 months. Noah for 9 months. Professional Idiot for your super chat. And Sal for your super chat as well. Really appreciate all the support. And again, all those things, super chats and members, they're all optional, but we really appreciate it if you do choose to support the channel in that way. I'm glad I could be back. to stream because I know you've been missing it. Watching on playback. You know, leave in the comments what you think. I'll try and get through a few of them, maybe tomorrow. But look, listen, terrible result. Terrible in the way that it happened. And I don't see a way out. I really, really don't see a way out. Which is probably the most depressing thing about this is only solution I really see is getting some signings in, and that can't happen until January. We've got 3 games until then, and even at that point, you know, it might take a little while to get a signing for, you know, through the door. You know, cross the I, cross the T's, dot the I's, signed, sealed, delivered, medicals, all of that. It really could be a while. So, listen, try to block it out, not care too much, or do what I do. Expect the bare minimum, which is they'll turn up, look good for 20 minutes and probably lose. And then you won't be disappointed. You know, anything else comes as a bonus, but that'll be me. It's getting pretty late. Thanks again for everyone who tuned in. Even at the end, still like count. Did we reach 50? 49? Maybe we'll reach 50. Not bad for first stream back, but yeah. Thanks for watching. If you want me to do this more, I can do. Again, leave it in the comments if you're watching this on playback. I will try and stream more because I know people used to enjoy it, but yeah, man, stay safe. Bring on Aston Villa.